Most men touch her body, but never reach her soul. Say the right words, and she won't just hear you, she'll feel you in places she's never let anyone in. This isn't about game, it's about awakening the part of her that secretly wants to surrender only to you. Let's be honest for a second. Women are not turned on by what they see the same way men are. No, a woman's arousal begins in her mind. The right words, said in the right tone, at the right moment, can stir up desires in her that she didn't even know were sleeping. It's not always about what you do with your hands. Sometimes it's about what you do with your voice, with your presence, with your language. When you speak to a woman, you're not just using words. You're planting images, emotions, fantasies. The more vivid the picture, the more intense the feeling. That's why most men miss the mark. They speak to impress. But women don't just want to be impressed. They want to be felt deeply. So what do you say that makes her imagine you between her legs? It starts with presence, confidence, a lowered voice. Not loud and aggressive, but calm, slow, steady. Like you know exactly what effect your words will have. And then you say something that touches both her mind and her body. Like, I love the way your skin reacts when I look at you. I haven't even touched you yet, but I can already feel your breath changing. Now, you're not just talking, you're triggering sensations. It's not about being dirty. It's about being deliberate, specific, controlled. It's about describing what you want her to feel, using suggestion instead of instruction. It's in the pause between your words, the tension in your silence, the way your eyes lock into hers when you say, I wonder how long I could keep you on the edge before I finally let you feel what you've been begging for without saying a word. Suddenly, she's not just hearing your words, she's feeling them. Her heart races, her breath shortens, her imagination fills in the blanks. That's the secret. Don't spell it all out. Give her just enough to want more, to crave more, to picture your lips, your hands, your presence, exactly where she wants them. You see, most men want to touch a woman's body before they've touched her mind. But if you touch her mind, right, if you say the things that make her visualize, anticipate, surrender, then she'll undress her thoughts long before her clothes ever come off. It's in the way you say her name, slowly, like you're tasting it. It's in the words you choose when you lean close and whisper. If I told you what I'm thinking right now, you wouldn't walk straight tomorrow. She'll laugh, or blush, or look away, but in her mind, she's already taken you there. That's the power of voice, the power of words. Not crude, not loud, not needy, but confident, controlled, intimate. If you master that, if you learn to say what triggers her imagination, not just her body, she won't just remember you, she'll crave you. Not for what you did, but for what you made her feel. Most men approach women thinking that they need to be flashy, overly charming, or use cheesy pickup lines to get her attention. But that's not what truly moves a woman. A woman's desire is not activated by what you show her. It's awakened by what you make her feel. And the truth is, there are certain words, when spoken with confidence and presence, that can melt through her resistance faster than any touch. The mind is the most erogenous zone, and if you learn to speak in a way that triggers her imagination, she won't just listen, she'll feel it all over her body. It's not just about what you say, it's about how you say it. A calm, slow voice says more than a loud one ever could. When you lower your tone, speak slower, and look into her eyes like you already know her deepest thoughts, you change the energy completely. You shift from being a man who's trying to prove himself to a man who already knows what he brings. And women respond to that shift without even realizing it. They feel it in their body before their mind catches up. You become the man who doesn't just talk to her, he enters her. Not physically yet, but emotionally, mentally, sensually. A simple phrase like, I wonder what would happen if I kissed the part of you you've never let anyone touch, carries more power than any generic compliment. Why? Because it's specific, it's suggestive, it's intimate. You're not just throwing words into the air. You're painting a picture inside her mind. You're igniting curiosity, building tension, and giving her a role in a silent fantasy you're both about to create. And once that door opens, her resistance fades. Not because you forced it, but because you invited her into a space that felt safe, exciting, and undeniably sexual. There's something magnetic about a man who knows the value of silence. He speaks, then pauses, not because he's searching for words, but because he knows the silence between the words is where the tension builds. When you say something like, I can already feel your body reacting to me, and I haven't even touched you yet, and then pause, let it sit, her body does the rest. She starts filling in the blanks, picturing what's coming next, sensing what your words suggest without you needing to say more. That's how seduction works. Not in the noise, but in the space you create for her to imagine. Women don't just want a man who's bold, they want a man who's aware of how she breathes, how her eyes shift when she's aroused, how her lips part slightly when she's curious. Speak to those things. Acknowledge what her body is doing in response to your presence. Whisper it, like you're letting her in on a secret only the two of you know. Let her feel that you're not guessing. You're reading her like a book, and you know what chapter she wants you to write next. That level of emotional presence is what separates a man she forgets from a man she dreams about. And when you finally speak with that depth, she won't hear your words with her ears. She'll feel them pulse through her. You'll become the voice that lingers in her thoughts long after the moment has passed, not because you said something vulgar or explicit, but because you said something that reached past her walls and touched the part of her that's always been waiting for a man who truly sees her, desires her, and knows how to guide her surrender with nothing but words. There's a moment in every woman's mind where she decides whether she'll give in to a man or not, and that moment is rarely about what he looks like. It's almost never about what he's wearing or what car he drives. It's about how he makes her feel. It's about the energy he brings, the tone of his voice, and the words he chooses. When a man speaks in a way that reaches past her surface, when he knows how to bypass her walls with just one sentence, he becomes unforgettable. Because every woman, no matter how strong, independent, or guarded, wants to feel seen, wanted, and desired. Not in a shallow way, but in a way that makes her feel like she's the only woman in the world. Most men rush. They think seduction is about speed, about getting to the point. But the truth is, real seduction is slow. It's patient. It's intentional. It's the way a man allows his silence to say just as much as his words. It's in the way he studies her, the way he listens not to reply, but to feel her energy shift. A man like that doesn't need to say much, because every word he does say carries weight. When he looks at her and says, "You don't even know what I'd do to you if I had you alone right now," she feels it. Not just as a statement, but as a promise laced with anticipation. It's not about being dirty, it's about being deliberate, about speaking directly to her desires without making her feel exposed. It's saying things that make her wonder what it would be like to lose control with you, to let go in ways she never has before. When you say, "I can feel how badly you want me," without you saying a single word, and you maintain that eye contact, Her body reacts, her breath shortens, her pulse quickens, and even if she tries to play it cool, even if she looks away or laughs it off, her imagination is already creating scenarios her body is ready to explore. Words, when used right, aren't just communication, they're stimulation. They touch her deeper than hands ever could. A woman who is mentally aroused will surrender faster than one who is physically teased, because once her mind opens, everything else follows. That's why men who learn how to speak into a woman's fantasies, into her unspoken needs, have the upper hand. They understand that the power isn't in demanding her attention, it's in earning her surrender without ever asking for it. When you speak to her with clarity, with intent, and with sensual precision, she doesn't resist, she responds. She starts to crave the way you see her, the way your words shape the atmosphere between you. You begin to exist not just in her reality, but in her memory, in her dreams. And every time she thinks of you, it's not about what you did, it's about how you made her feel, about how your voice became the one that echoed in her thoughts when she was alone, about how one simple phrase made her question how much longer she could pretend she didn't want you. A man who can say, "I want to know what makes you lose control," and then make you beg for it with quiet certainty, doesn't need to raise his voice or prove his strength, because his strength is in his restraint. It's in his ability to create pressure without ever needing to touch her. That kind of man makes her melt without moving, makes her imagine without seeing, and makes her surrender without forcing. Because when you master the art of seductive communication, resistance doesn't stand a chance. There's something about the way a man speaks that can disarm even the most guarded woman, not with volume, not with charm, but with precision. With a kind of raw, sensual certainty that doesn't ask for attention, it commands it. Women don't want to be convinced. They want to be awakened. And when you speak to her in a way that awakens her, mentally, emotionally, physically, you become more than just a man. You become a desire she didn't expect, a fantasy she didn't see coming, a fire she won't want to put out. Because the truth is, when you know what to say and how to say it, no woman can resist. It starts long before a touch, before a kiss, before a single move is made. It starts with intention, with energy, with a man who walks into a room and doesn't look around for approval, but settles into himself. That presence alone is a language. And when he speaks, he doesn't waste words. He doesn't compliment just to flatter. He speaks to the part of her that rarely gets spoken to. He says things like, "I know you're used to being strong, but I wonder what it would feel like for you to completely let go with someone who knows exactly how to handle all of you." That sentence doesn't touch her body. It touches her control, her dominance, her secret need to release. And suddenly, the atmosphere changes. Most men talk to be liked, but a man who knows the art of seduction talks to be felt. He studies her eyes, the way she reacts to silence, the way she inhales when something excites her. He doesn't rush. He lets the tension build. He speaks slowly, not because he's unsure, but because he's savoring the effect of his words. And when he finally leans in and says, "You have no idea how badly I want to taste the side of you no one gets to see," she doesn't just hear it, she feels it between her thighs, in the back of her spine, and the corners of her thoughts that don't usually get touched. That's the kind of speech that bypasses logic. It shuts down the filter and goes straight into fantasy. It doesn't ask for permission, it builds anticipation until she gives it. A woman's resistance is not about not wanting, it's about not feeling safe to want. So when you speak with a tone that says, "I know what I'm doing," with a gaze that says, "I know how to read you," and with words that say, "I'm already inside your mind," she relaxes, she opens. She lets her body follow the lead her mind has already taken. Seduction is not about being aggressive, it's about being intentional. It's not about volume, it's about vibration. The way your voice dips low when you say her name, the way you pause after a sentence, letting the air between you hold the weight of the unsaid. The way you look at her lips, not because you're rushing to kiss them, but because you're already imagining what she'll sound like when she's breathless. When you say something like, I could spend hours figuring out what makes your body react and then mastering it, you aren't asking for access. You're claiming your space in her mind and letting her invite you in. She'll pretend it's just words. She might smirk or roll her eyes or shift in her seat, but her body always betrays her. The tilt of her hips, the way her legs cross tighter, the heat rising in her neck, those words leave fingerprints. They linger long after the conversation ends, because when a man knows how to speak into her hunger, not loudly, but deeply, he becomes the man she dreams about, craves in silence, and compares every other man to. There's a language every woman longs to hear, and it's not found in scripts or cliches. It's spoken through presence, through energy, through a man who knows how to take control without raising his voice. The words she craves aren't loud or vulgar. They're confident, smooth, and laced with intention. When a man speaks with calm authority, with emotional awareness and quiet sensuality, he doesn't just attract her attention, he captivates her. Because the right words, when wrapped in the right tone, slip beneath her defenses and awaken the side of her she usually keeps hidden. A woman is not easily moved by surface-level compliments. She hears those every day. What she remembers is the man who notices the things no one else sees. The man who doesn't rush to impress her, but who instead leans in and says, I like the way your eyes change when you're holding back something you want to say. That sentence, simple as it is, touches her soul. It tells her you see her, not just her looks, but her subtle shifts, her unspoken tension, her layered emotion. And that level of perception makes her feel exposed in the best way. It draws her in, it pulls her closer without even needing to touch her. The art of seduction lives in the unspoken, in the timing, in the tension, in the way a man can speak in a way that makes her feel like he already knows how she likes to be kissed, where she likes to be held, and what she would sound like if she stopped overthinking and just let go. That doesn't come from being explicit. It comes from being intentional. A man who can say, I don't want to rush a single part of you. I want to take my time learning everything that makes you unreal. Is not just flirting. He's offering an experience, one she can't ignore, one her body responds to, even if her mind is trying to stay composed. Women are constantly being spoken at. Rarely are they spoken into. When you talk into a woman's mind, when your voice is steady and your words are tailored to her energy in the moment, you become irresistible. Not because you're trying too hard, but because you're in tune. You're not just saying what she wants to hear, you're saying what she didn't even know she needed to feel. That's when everything changes. That's when the way she looks at you shifts. That's when her voice softens, her guard lowers, and her breathing changes. The man who understands this knows that real power isn't loud. It's still. It's focused. It's quiet confidence that says, I don't need to chase you. I know you feel this too. That type of energy penetrates deeper than any pickup line ever could. When you say something like, I've been wondering how long you could keep pretending you don't want this as much as I do. You aren't just speaking, you're daring her. You're meeting her in that space between hesitation and surrender and guiding her into it without pressure. That's where the magic lives. in the tension, in the pause, in the way your words give her permission to stop pretending and start craving. A woman's body will always follow where her mind has already gone. That's why seduction through speech is so powerful, because it starts with imagination, with mental images she doesn't want to shake off, with phrases that trigger curiosity, desire, and vulnerability all at once. She might try to stay composed, but she's already picturing your hands, your mouth, your breath against her skin. Not because you touched her, but because you knew how to say the things that made her body react before you ever got close. So when you learn to master this art, not just of speaking, but of truly reaching her, you'll realize it was never about the words alone. It was about the way you made her feel seen without stripping her, desired without objectifying her, and wanted in a way that left her body aching before you ever laid a finger. That's the kind of connection no woman forgets and no other man can replace.